We were on our honeymoon in Gippsland, that 17,000 square miles of enchantment in the southeast corner of Victoria. Judy and I had motored along the Prince's Highway from Melbourne to Lake's Entrance. We strolled down to the pier to watch the fishing fleet, and there we saw Joe. He was a picturesque figure, calling up visions of the hardy pioneers who first fished Gippsland's waters and explored its rich plains and vast forest-covered mountains. Meeting Joe was the luckiest break in my honeymoon. Of course, apart from having Judy along. As Joe's nimble fingers mended his fishing net, we asked him about Gippsland and its story.
Well, Peter, this is a fisherman's paradise. One of Victoria's main trawler fleets operates from here. The trawlers come back with their holds brim full of tuna, salmon, shark, flathead, whiting, barracuda, and then off go the catches to the cities and towns. Less than 100 years ago, Gippsland was almost unexplored. Life was tough. Now it is one of the most prosperous parts of Australia. Holiday makers and tourists flock to the lakes of Gippsland. There is speedboat racing and all kinds of aquatic sports. The carnivals are a great attraction. Boats of all shapes and sizes are bright with flowers, ribbons and balloons. Yes, life here is different today. But the nets can wait. Come and I'll show you around. We'll go for a run on the lakes in my boat. You young honeymooners have lots of time.
So off Judy and I went with Joe. He showed us the fishermen at work. Joe said the lakes were alive with mullet, skipjack, brim, whiting, garfish and luderick. On we went, and Joe told us all about Gippsland. He found a map.
Starting here at the historic inland port of Sale, you can travel 60 miles to Lake's Entrance, down the Thompson and La Trobe rivers, then into the three Great Lakes, Wellington, Victoria and King. On the way you pass the Lakes National Park and popular holiday resorts like Paynesville and Meton. 40 miles beyond Lake's Entrance are the river flats of Orbost. Through Orbost flows the magnificent Snowy River, which rises near Mount Kosciuszko, Australia's highest mountain. The Snowy reaches the sea at the fishing village of Marlow. Further along the coast is Cape Conry, a small hidden-away fishing spot which is a favourite haunt of anglers who like to get off the beaten track. They catch all kinds of fish here, crayfish that would make your mouth water. And the colourful tiger flathead.
For hour after hour, he showed us the wonders of Gippsland's beautiful lakes. What's that, Joe?
A wedge-tail eagle. The wedge-tail is one of the biggest eagles in the world. Sometimes they have a wingspread of 10 feet. Look, Judy, that's Rotmar Island. It's in Lake King. Scores of kangaroos inhabit the island. That fellow is a bit scared of the camera. See how his heart is beating. Off they go. They say a roo can do 60 miles per hour at top speed. Look at that one, Judy. Now we're on the Tambo River. Everything is quiet and peaceful. This is a favourite haunt of the great southern bream. A wonderful fighting fish, found nowhere else in Australia but in the rivers and lakes of Gippsland. Got him! That's a brim. Looks like a nice 2-pounder. I wish I had more time so you could try your luck with the brim too. But I must get back to my fishing nets.
So we waved goodbye. Next day, we left Bairnsdale in our car to see more of the Gippsland Joe had talked about with so much pride. We headed north into the cattle country of Omeo. The Omeo Highway runs beside the Tambo River, which we had explored the previous day with Joe. Joe told us Gippsland is noted for its Herefords. It has hundreds of thousands of these handsome cattle. We swung off the highway and watched drovers bringing a mob down from the Alps. Further along, we were held up by another mob who turned their great white heads curiously towards our car. Judy was especially intrigued by the girl drover. The drovers muster the cattle on the high plains during the autumn before snow comes to the mountains and bring the big mobs down to the lowlands. They make 12 miles a day, camping under the stars. On we went past a sheep property. Gippsland is one of Australia's great sheep grazing areas with about 1.5 million head of sheep. Merinos, Corriedales, Southdowns, Border Leicesters. Near Omeo, which is known as the capital of the Victorian Alps, we left the car and explored on foot. We came across an abandoned gold mine. Here we met Keith, an old prospector who still fossicks for gold and finds a few precious grains too. He gave Judy some as a memento. Keith told us that Omeo was one of Victoria's earliest alpine mining towns. But today there's more gold in tourists and cattle, he said. On we hiked through the towering timber country around Mount Naniong. Gippsland has some of the tallest hardwoods in the world, the giant mountain ash soaring to more than 300 feet. We climbed to the top of Mount Naniong, one of Victoria's highest peaks, and a storm was sweeping across the mountaintops, and the strange cloud formation was awe-inspiring. Mile after mile, and every mile something of interest. Here we paused to look at a field of oats in a valley below. The stooks looked like rows of grazing sheep. One fascinating day of our Gippsland honeymoon we spent on a trip to Buchan Caves, about 36 miles from Lake's entrance. Thousands of visitors come here every year, Joe said. We arrived just in time to join the conducted tour and marvel at the brilliant colours and fantastic shapes that the limestone-charged water had built up over eons of time. The guide told us it took up to 3,000 years for a stalactite to grow 1 foot. The blankets and shawls of red, amber and lilac were so delicately coloured, we touched them to make sure they weren't Gippsland wool. Then off the beaten track we went to Mallacoota in the far eastern corner of Gippsland. The beautiful lake scenery stretched over 1,700 acres, rich in Australia's unique animal and plant life. Nearby is Gypsy Point, another popular brim fishing ground. Old-timers have been coming here for more than 30 years. But so little time and so much we wanted to see. Joe told us that the best way to see the many faces of Gippsland was to fly and take a bird's eye view. So up we went, over the Trobe Valley, the world's biggest field of brown coal. There's Yallourn, the largest power station in Australia. It generates nearly half of Victoria's electricity. The open-cut coal mine below is big enough to swallow most of the city of Melbourne, with not a spire showing above ground. We're over the great gas and fuel corporation's works now, and the Maryvale paper and pulp factory. Up to 5,000 feet and out of the Trobe Valley we flew over the rugged highlands of central Gippsland. Below us appeared beautiful Tarlee Khan, a lake hidden in a deep cleft 2,000 feet below the top of Mount Wellington. It's a wonderful hike for bushwalkers. That road winds to the ghost town of Walhalla, once the site of one of Victoria's richest goldfields. More than 72 tons of gold were dug from one mine alone. Glen Maggie Weir on the Macalister River near Maffra provides central Gippsland with precious water for irrigation. Judy begged for a closer look, so we landed. Great place this for brown trout. 7-pounders are common. They've even caught a 14-pounder, so we were told. Again in the air over the 90-mile beach. That's Sea Spray, a wonderful surfing resort. Let's hedge hop, said our pilot, so down we shot to skim breathtakingly 10 feet above the great Bass Strait rollers. But now our Gippsland honeymoon was over. We climbed for a last lingering look at the lakes and countryside where Judy and I had spent so many unforgettable days. The hardy pioneers, the fishermen, graziers, farmers, miners, timber cutters had laid the foundations of a rich and prosperous community. And no one is prouder of his Gippsland heritage than a fisherman called Joe.